We live.
Early
Living.
early live. Good morning, everybody. It's the pre-show show again, the second day in a row, because we are still in the PBA All-Star Weekend. This is day 2, and day 2 is the Legacy Cup. The first day was yesterday. It was the skill showdown against Brunswick, Storm, and Motive. If you guys watched the show, you saw that our boy Darren Tang was on that telecast, and you guys swept.
Yeah, we did.
Clean.
Big sweep.
Crazy.
I'm gonna be
Like
honest.
we talked about yesterday, Troop is just that made for TV guy. He just does this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So yeah, we had a pretty hot start with him leading off with the strike challenge. So that's always a good. He's like the spark plug. So that's always nice to have in the bag. And then I just got lucky. The other guys missed some spares down the stretch. And then Rash and Tommy just kind of. I didn't watch the show. What I know is from what happened while I was there. So I don't know what they put in there and what they didn't. But it was kind of an epic finish between Rash and Tommy. It was kind of cool to see.
Watch it now. I didn't get to watch it. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, they wrapped it up with the Flying Eagle. They did kind of touch on some things that we talked about yesterday, like how guys would go before, do a trick shot, and then, maybe if they didn't convert, the next guy tried that same thing, and it kind of came down to that in the end. So it was kind of cool to see it end on a Flying Eagle.
Yeah, I mean,
I just feel like that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, shout out Sean. He's number 1 on SportsCenter's top 10. Feels like something stupid. I feel like something stupid has to happen on the PBA for it to get to be number 1. The last 2 times it's been that, and then Nair making the 7-10 at the U.S. Open. So,
wait, is it the top 10 or not top 10?
I believe the top 10. I don't know.
Really?
I feel like it would have to be the Flying Eagle. How that warrants the top or number 1 in the top 10, I don't know, but
yeah, because they're probably like, why is that pin out there? Like,
how do you leave that?
And why is he bowling on 2 lanes at the same time? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, shout out. We got some recognition on SportsCenter, and I was 1 pick away from all of my winners being in 3rd place. So,
and you know what's funny is you literally said I don't see any of them being in 3rd place.
Pretty sure. Well, I said I didn't see any Brunswick people finishing 3rd, which he was the only one that let me down in that, because Bill got 2nd and Tommy got 2nd. So that was I didn't think they were going to get 3rd, but yeah, that was very bad picking up by me.
How do you pick that though? This is just such a different event, and like you said yesterday, anything can happen for anybody.
Literally anyone could have won. Yeah.
You got the best players in the world in the shortest format almost possible.
Yeah, and it's not like bowling. Not the full thing. Well,
and you guys know how the shows go. It's just kind of anything can happen. Things change last minute, and we get minimal practice shots.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there to know that, but you said that it was kind of wild. Well, today we have the Legacy Cup. For the people that haven't really got to see exactly what all the information is, we've got 3 different groups today. I don't know the format, honestly. Darren or Chris, do you guys know exactly the format today?
Oh God, what happened? Okay, so the first one is you've got
don't spoil it.
You've got the Hall of Famers. Yeah, I'm just trying to go for the format.
Which I'll name those real quick. We have the Legends, which is Mike Albee, Parker Bone III, Norm Duke, Pete Weber, and Walter Way Williams Jr.
Walter Way.
That's the Legend.
Nice. All right, cool. Now we got the current top 10 players, or 4 of the top 10 players. Those would the
All-Stars is Tom Doherty, Bill O'Neill, EJ Tackett, and Cal Troop. Those were in by fan vote as well.
Fan vote, that is correct. And then we got the Rising Stars,
which is most of the guys that won their region in the regional whatchamacallit, tour. Dio Bernard, if you guys don't know him, two-handed lefty out of the Southwest region. Anthony Nair, you guys have seen him. Like you said, he picked up a 7-10 at the U.S. Open one time.
Ginger assassin.
Nate Purchase. I don't really know much about Nate, to be honest with you. He's like pretty young, just fresh out of college, right?
I think they're all pretty young, no?
Yeah.
They're all like between 17 and 21.
I'm pretty sure Dio's probably the youngest.
I think
Dio's
Tez is
really
the
young.
oldest.
Like
Tez might be like
18,
23.
Yeah. And Tez is our rookie
24.
of the year last year. So
yeah.
3 different groups of bowlers. How are they bowling?
So they were split. They were split into teams of 4, so 1 from each category. The teams I don't exactly remember, but it was a bracket.
I got you right here. So it's EJ, Pete, and Nate, Troop, Walter, and Cortez, Bill, Norm, and Nair, and then Doherty, Parker, and Dio. So Albee did not bowl in the.
Yeah, he didn't bowl in the opening event. It will be a bracket, so it's going to be how they decide. I don't know, but it's going to be 2 teams. They'll bowl a 3-man Baker game against each other, and then obviously the winners move on. They'll bowl each other for the Legacy Cup title. Now, the second match was, you said there were 3 events? Why am I only remembering 2? Well, one of the other events was a Baker game, which Mike Albee will be participating in. It's a 5v5. It's not Baker, but they all throw 2 strike shots. So it's going to be 10 strike shots total. So it's the Hall of Famers versus future Hall of Famers, which will feature Tommy and Sean Rash, along with the other 3 players minus Tom Doherty.
I say Doherty's or Tommy's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
He is.
I think they called it future Hall of Famers, but yeah.
Future/current Hall of Famers.
Cheat code. Current player.
Yeah.
In the Hall of Fame.
He found a loophole.
Just players that are currently bowling on the tour that will be in the Hall of Fame.
So interesting. I mean, it's pretty cool. You got to think for the rising stars. They get to bowl with arguably the 4 of the top 5 in our sport, with Norm, Pete, Walter, and Parker. Think about when you guys were 18, 19, like Dio is. I think Dio's got to be 18 or 19, right? 19 years old. Think about being 19.
I want to say 18 at best.
So let's just say 18. Bad research by us. Typical stuff by the house boys.
Let me look it up. The internet's
okay. We'll look it up. Whatever age that Dio is, and we're saying 18. Imagine you guys at 18 years old, and you get to bowl with either a Parker, Norm, Pete, or Walter. What do you do on TV? Are you going to be super nervous? Think about how cool of an experience that's going to be.
He's 20.
He's 20. All right. Still so young. Still so young.
In my head, I'm like, this kid he's 17 on tour.
Well, he did come out a couple of years ago, and he was
I feel like we've heard Dio's name for 4 years now, and he's
just been 17 every time.
Yeah, he just
right.
The same age. Yeah, man, that would be tough because I feel like, at that age, but they're almost. I mean, they're 12 years younger than I am. To where are those guys even the guys they looked up to? Or is that kind of
they might almost be outside of their era? I think
the generation to where it's those guys. Oh yeah, we heard about them, but we didn't really watch them that much.
There's no babies.
They caught the tail end of the careers.
You're
where
right.
It's Pete, when he won, the U.S. Open. That was 2012, right?
Yeah,
2012. That's 12 years ago.
So
they were all
they were
less than 10 years old.
They were
that's
8
true,
when
but
that happened.
But they
that's
know
still
these are legends.
Yeah. I mean, that's still an age where you're obviously
cognizant and you can understand
all that stuff. Yeah,
dude,
but
I was picking boogers and playing tag outside. I had no clue what was going on at 11.
But it's just one of those things that you're probably looking more like those guys are the Tommies, the Bills, those are they're legends, in their eyes.
Right.
But it's still they know that these guys are, the greatest of all time type of deals. So I can still imagine that it's going to be one of those like, oh, like I want to bowl really well because this was probably my only chance to ever bowl with these guys. So
yeah,
it's definitely one of those things that probably want to.
This being their this isn't Nyers made a telecast deal. This is his first telecast. Nate Purchase, he's made like the PBA Youth, the PBA Juniors telecast, right? I'm pretty sure he's made one of those. And then Tez made a telecast.
He made
the regional one. So Dio's the only one where this is his first telecast. Does this like ruin the feel of a first telecast because this is like this isn't like a bold on performance like at an actual tour stop? Or do you not care? You're just happy to be here?
Yeah,
I think in his case, I mean, definitely knowing him, I think he was certainly happy to be there.
Yeah,
he's a pretty happy. He's a pretty happy-go-lucky kid. I don't think this is going to ruin the experience for him.
Yeah,
definitely a subjective feeling. For me, if I was in his position, I don't think I would feel like it ruins the experience. I feel like it's a stepping stone, because you were chosen as one of the rising stars.
Yeah.
So in a way, he did earn this. Did earn the right to be there. So. I do believe he's going to make a show at some point in his career, and when that happens, I feel like that's just going to be the next step.
I would agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't discount it just because it's like you said, it's one of those things like you got invited based off of your performances, so it's still like it's still earned like per se.
Yeah.
And but I feel like now it's one of those better where like when he makes his own TV show at first, like maybe he'll be a bit more comfortable now. So
yeah. Well, I asked that because I was talking with Boog because Boog was part of the All-Stars voting and he didn't get voted in. He was a little bummed by it. And I was like,
voted for him, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I told him, I was like, don't overthink that. Honestly, you probably want your first telecast to be like earned when you bowl on an actual tour stop. He's like, yeah, it would have just been cool. I was like, I get it, but like it'll feel that much better when you make a telecast and then he wins a tour title next week. So it all worked out, but I just told him, it's all right. Not that it would ruin his moment, but it was like it'll feel really good when you just bowl onto a telecast like it just had a normal tour stop versus this. So,
what was a really odd one though? One of our boys, Anthony Simonson, not in the top 4 for the voting.
I mean, Marshall having a great year too, and he was at the bottom of voting.
Yeah, it's just kind of odd because Simo's been making a ton of shows for how many years now, and he's kind of a staple, kind of like EJ, kind of like Belmo. So it's just kind of surprising to not see him there.
Yeah,
I think it's one of those things too where it's like I want to say a lack of social media presence plays somewhat of part of it because
100%.
like where you're playing or like where you're seeing like all this voting stuff is all on social media, and like those guys have a big following, but I don't think like they don't really use it the best to where it's like, hey, like promoting that you're available to vote. Because like if Simo's like, yo, like, hey, like I'm up for this vote, whatever, and he sends it out to however many followers, 50,000 plus, I would imagine that he has, on Instagram, and like I'm sure he's got more than that. But it's like you send out a link and be like, hey, I got, vote for me, even if 1% of them vote. Like that's a decent amount of votes that you're just letting go and you can get in a couple of minutes. So, I mean,
guess how many he has, and it's not as much as you think.
Is it
Simo
on Instagram? Yeah,
29,000.
Wow.
What was your guess, Chris?
I was low on 50. So I mean,
Kev was really close. It's just shy of 28,000.
Wow.
So Simo is really like he'll post every time he wins and stuff like that, but he's really not active much at all.
So he still posts a good amount, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's I think that's the big thing with those guys is, just a lack of
sure. But you would think though, I feel like he has so much star power that if someone just sees his name, it's like, oh yeah, Anthony Simonson. Boop.
Yeah, but he's like with him, he's got that bad boy attitude, right? He's got kind of the new era Pete Weber, where
but if you think about it, the era back then, people are still voting for Pete.
Well, yeah, but it's.
I guess there was no
era.
social media back then.
Yeah, it's not that era anymore to where it's a little bit different. So, yeah, I think maybe the bad boy, kind of vibe doesn't necessarily translate as well in this era. But I mean, he still
maybe
should
our
have been
generation just doesn't like the bad boy image.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean,
I don't know.
Because he's not full bad boy though.
He's not.
He's
not.
He's such a genuinely nice dude, but he just gets fiery sometimes. Where like he always had that.
Yeah,
like if on shows, if he's a 10 on TV, him in person's like a 2.
Yeah, I agree.
At best, like I find myself. I know I shouldn't be defending him or myself on social media because it just doesn't matter. But I'm like, I find myself defending him like. He's not the kind of guy that you're painting him to be.
100%.
He's literally one of the nicest guys ever.
Like if he's in your corner, he will literally do anything for you. If you need something, he's there.
Yeah, he is one of the nicest dudes ever. So yeah, that's probably what my my presence would be. But or that's my opinion.
I guess I'm guilty. I didn't vote for him. I voted for Boog.
I mean, it's cool to see new faces. It's cool. Just like the idea of having the rising stars is cool. To see like who's next up on our tour. Like these guys are the next guys that are going to come up and be the new wave of the faces of the tour and stuff. Cortez was rookie of the year, so it's cool to get them out there, and because there's a lot of good bowlers on tour that people don't quite know about because you don't see them make a telecast or they don't have a big social media following. So it's cool to shed some light on stuff like that. So to get into this format a little bit, I got to ask you guys, just kind of like how we talked about yesterday with the skills challenge and who you'd want to bowl with. If let's say you're the rising star, who would you want to bowl with as a legend and right now's all-star? If you're one of the 4 rising stars.
So in this situation, have I never interacted with the legends before? I don't.
Yeah, it's got to be this.
Much.
It's like it's like the same exact thing. You were a fan of them. You've probably never really talked to them that much. This is like your first time meeting them.
Here. Gosh, I'm super biased because I bowled with Pete in the league for years, and Mikey won a competition years ago when he was like 10 or 11, and Norm came out and he was like the guest of honor. And he hung out with us for like 4 days. So I'm a little biased here, but I'm still going with Norm.
Norm? That's such a good answer.
Yeah. I mean, if I had no like former interaction with him, it would be Norm, like 1,000%. But it's like now, like I can literally pick up the phone and call him, or I can like text him or whatever. So it's one of those things where it's like he's more like a friend. I mean, he's still obviously somebody I look up to, but he's way more like, I guess, accessible, I guess would be the right word. But I never like got to bowl with Mike Albee. I never really even got to like watch him bowl in person. So I feel like if you were to ask me right now, I think it might be Mike Albee, just because I never really got the chance to watch him bowl or bowl near him. So it would probably be him.
I agree. My stock in Mike Albee has gone up after this week, this All-Star week.
Like literally one of the nicest guys.
He's the nicest guy. Like he just came up to me.
Ever.
I'm a little like kind of, I'm just kind of there, Don't really go up to people like, hey, I'm Darren Tang, blah, blah, blah. I'm just not like that. And he comes up to me, he just starts talking to me, and the vibe is just so positive. And like you say, he's just the nicest guy.
Yeah, so he owns a bowling center, Arrowhead Lanes, I believe is what it's called, in Indiana. And it's like an hour and a half away from where we bowl in Woodland. And I worked in SYC at Woodland. We've obviously bowled a couple of tournaments in Woodland. And he comes down every single time that there's an event in Woodland. Like I was working the SYC. I was basically just in the booth the whole time, talking about, the kids that are bowling, whatever it may be. And then Mike shows up and he's literally just walking around. Like he drove an hour and a half each way just to be there to support the kids, to support like the tournament. And he sat in the booth for an entire game just to talk, was not paid to be there, had like literally like nothing There was no incentive for him to come other than
none of the kids know who he is.
other than just him wanting to come and support the event. So yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. So he's one of the nicest dudes ever, and yeah, I think that's speaking of SYC. It's not an SYC, but Packy is working a Brunswick event tournament type deal today, and that's why he's not here. I know I saw a couple of comments talking earlier, like, "Where's Packy?" He's working an event for Brunswick today, so
he's super defeated after his last place finish yesterday, so he just couldn't show his face. No, that's not it. Yeah, he's doing some stuff with Brunswick today, so he couldn't be here. Yeah. Adam said to go watch the '93 Wichita Open, the best Albie show. I'll be, and I'm guilty to say that, like, I'm not a big like history buff of like sports and things like that. I wasn't a big bowler growing up. Like, it wasn't my main sport even close until I was like 19 years old. So like I never watched old school telecasts and stuff. So like a Mike Albee and like guys like that, I just wasn't into bowling then. So it doesn't hit for me the same as like guys more to today's times. So like the legend thing, I'm not going to pick someone that's like an Albee or someone, because I never really cared about bowling then. But I truly get like legend and I respect it, but not my pick.
Yeah, Kev, who is your legend? Who are you picking?
I mean, I always go to Jason Couch because that was the guy that I loved watching. He was fiery. He was left-handed. He hooked it. Yeah, I mean, he was just so fun to watch. Like, I related to him if I ever watched bowling. I was like, this guy is fiery, and that's why I liked watching Tommy Jones as well, because when he was bowling good, he gets loud, like, and I just love to watch that. I like the people with that had that energy to them. So my legend's got to be Jason Couch, and then today it's just going to be Belmo, because Belmo's the greatest of all time in my opinion. So that
we get to bowl with the guy.
I know, El Cat's my captain. So it's crazy. I texted some of my friends back home, like that, my bowling friends from Missouri, and was like, it's pretty crazy. I'm bowling with who I think is the best bowler of all time. Like, that's sick. So, but yeah, my old school guys, like, I don't know the history like that. Like, talking about like Dick Weber's and the people who pioneered the game and stuff. I'm like, I never even paid attention to bowling at all back then. But I understand why Mike Albee is a legend, and I respect him for that. And I love to hear that, like, they're genuinely good people when you hear legends like that, because people say like you don't want to meet like your role models and stuff, because it might ruin the experience if they're not who you think they are. But I don't hear that really in bowling. Like, if you have like a bowling role model and you meet him, like, it's always a good experience. Like, if Norm was your role model and you meet him, you're like, I love him even more than I already loved him. He's awesome.
like, wait a second.
Yeah,
I kind of felt that. I felt that when I first came out on tour. I'm not throwing anybody in the bus, but I'm just saying, like, being your heroes is definitely a different animal.
It is a different animal, because it can go the way you don't want it to go, and it can ruin that for you. I saw an interview with this girl that worked for ESPN or something, and she was saying how she had to do an interview for Michael Jordan, and she was like, he was so up here for me. She said that she couldn't do it because she didn't want him to turn out to be like a jerk or something and then ruin who he was to her. So she denied the interview, which is crazy to deny an interview for Michael Jordan. But I get it, though. I get it, because you do hear stories like that sometimes where it's like, yeah, I met this person, they sucked. And it's like, but not in the bowling world. Everyone is just genuinely good people.
And it's hard, too, because, like, you get one experience with those people typically, and it's like, what if they, like, had an argument with, their significant other or whatever, and they're in a bad mood or whatever it may be, and they're just not happy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're just in a grumpy mood, and that's the 10-15 minutes that you ever get to meet.
That one time.
Wow, this person sucks.
That is the worst.
They literally just had like a bad time. Like we get done bowling, we bowled poorly, like we're a little upset, and somebody comes up and asks us for an autograph. We may not even mean to do it, but we may just like, yeah, like whatever, and then just sign something and like kind of like pass by and just keep walking, and everyone's like, okay, like, all right, I guess, like, cool, thanks. But it's like we're just frustrated in that moment, and we don't really think of it. And so it's just one of those tough to be on your like 100% A game all the time.
So
I think that's go ahead, Kev.
to touch up on that exact thing of why I say Belmo is the greatest of all time,
I was
not
going to say the
just
same thing.
on the lanes, it's because I've witnessed him time in and time out. Maybe he bowls bad. Maybe, like he wants to get out of the bowling alley. But if there's a little fan there, he turns it on, and he always makes that experience good for the fan. And that's why I think he's the greatest of all time, because he's the best ambassador too. I remember one time in Shawnee, Oklahoma, I don't know the exact scenario, but I know that he bowled a really bad last game and he backed out of the cut. And he was not in a good mood. And not saying like he was kicking anything, but I just knew he wasn't in a good mood because he just missed the cut. And there was a little fan with his dad there and just waiting patiently with a pin. And Belmo could have just signed it and got on with his way. He sat there for 20 minutes and talked to this kid and the father. And it's like that makes the experience everything for that kid, for the dad, because they actually like turned it on. And even though he might have bowled bad and he doesn't want to talk to this person at the moment, he did anyways. And it's like, I've always seen him do the right thing in those situations. And that's why, like, a lot of these legends, Parker is the nicest guy ever. Norm, nicest guy ever. Like, they're all so genuinely nice. Like, It's always a good time talking to them. They always put on a smile. And that makes a huge difference for the fans as much as them, too. Makes it easier for you if you can always do that as well.
I agree. I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, that's one of the things I respect the most about him is that he can just – doesn't matter. He can put his feelings aside about bowling. He says, it's time to give back to the fans. And
because he sees the bigger picture, bigger picture of it. It's like, I bowled bad this one event, but if I'm a jerk to these fans, people aren't going to like me. And then what does that lead to, So I've seen it numerous times. And I've seen people who, people are a little oblivious to like the moment sometimes, like bowling fans, like if you're in the middle of bowling and then they'll just kind of interrupt you or whatever. And I saw that one time at the US Open with Belmo where Belmo was he just got done practicing on the range and he had to go into the paddock to get a ball. And this guy was like, Belmo, can you just sign a pin real quick? And like he was being rude. And you could tell Belmo was like, oh my goodness. But he stopped and he's like, can you give me just a minute? I will sign it after, whatever. Like he handled it the right way. And that guy didn't even deserve Belmo's response. But he still was like, yeah, just give me a minute. I got to bring my stuff to the lanes and I'll come see you, whatever. And it's like, a lot of guys wouldn't have handled it that way. So it makes all the difference in that moment. But
100%.
All these guys chiming in, all these people. Your dad said Johnny Petraglia, just throwing up people
big
that
Johnny P fan.
Johnny P.
The lefties. Lefties got to unite.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, honestly. Go lefties forever and always. But yeah, it's cool to see all these people. And like the Earl Anthonys and stuff like that. My history on the game, I just don't think of those names immediately. It's just kind of like you said with like Dio, like him bowling with Parker or Norm or all these people. He might be a little too far away from like them because I think his all-stars now are like our vets on tour. The Tommy Jones and the Bill O'Neills and stuff. So that's kind of how it was for me and Earl Anthony's and guys like that. But I mean, yeah, you see all these people in the chat just saying how they met all these legends and they've always had a good experience. And we love that for bowling.
Yeah,
we love that for bowling.
It's good to hear. I mean, this is the sport where you have the most like easy access to the professionals, like your idols. Like there's a very strong chance that you'll be able to meet them, interact with them, talk to them, say hi, get an autograph, whatever it is. Like, I'm a big fan of LeBron. Like, just because I go to a game, like, I'm not going to be able to talk to him. Like, there's no chance. So they're just like,
LeBron.
I mean,
I have a question.
Yeah, you can get like a courtside seat and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to be able, like, to talk to him, and there's no, like, not a chance in the world that. Or, I mean, he could obviously, but it's like not like as he walks by, you'd be like, "Yo, Bron," and he like turns around like, "Yo, what's up?" Like, maybe like a 1 in 100 chance. Like you go to 100 games, that might happen. But it's like the ability you can come to a PBA event, whatever pro that you want to talk to, like there's a strong chance that you can be able to talk to him, get an autograph, whatever it is. So
we're very accessible.
So basically, what Chris is saying is, if you see him at a PBA tournament, go talk to him.
Interrupt him. Get his mind off of bowling if he's bowling good or bad, and just interrupt him and talk
in the
to
middle
him,
of the block.
Photos of him.
Yeah. Like if I leave a 10 pin, interrupt me. Like ask for my autograph before I shoot the spare. That's what I want.
Take his mind off the 10-pin.
Exactly.
But on a real note, you guys do not ask for pictures. Don't ask for autographs during the block. It's technically in the rules that we are not allowed to sign, and it's against the rules for the fans to kind of do that same thing. So either before the block starts or after, completely cool. But during, please refrain from your pictures.
They can't actually kick.
Oh no, you can take pictures. Yeah, just no flash, but just don't talk to the or don't interrupt the players. Rather, I don't want to say don't talk to the players, but
yeah. Even then, though, it's like you got to understand, like, we're at work and sometimes people want to start having a conversation. And it's like, I don't want to be rude, but we're trying, like, I got to dial in here, you know. Yeah. But every time someone wants, like, an autograph when we're in, like, game 2 of a block, I hate to tell them no, but I'm like, hey, I can't. I'll do it the second after. Like, find me the second we're done bowling. I promise you I'll do it. I'm not saying no. And sometimes I'm like, let me just sign this real quick. Like, if I'm not nowhere close to their pair, I'm just like, all right, let me sign it real quick.
This is the worst when it's 8 games too, because it's like, man, I'm gonna tell this guy.
You just forget.
6 more games,
or you forget, and then you feel bad. Yeah.
It's like, hey, in 4.5 hours, I got you, no problem.
Exactly.
Literally not allowed to.
You said it, Chris. ESPN top 10. Ras was number 1.
Yeah, where's the clip? I need to see this clip.
I know. I'm kind of upset at myself.
I think it's the same one they posted on like Instagram and Twitter.
I went dark. I'm not on any social media.
I'm pretty sure it's literally just him converting it and then grabbing the paper and grabbing the 10 and showing it.
I mean,
I think I haven't seen it actually on SportsCenter, but I would imagine it can't be much different than what that clip is.
I love that, honestly. Was everyone mic'd up, Darren, during that? Like, could you hear Tommy trash talking if he was getting in there playing the mind games like you said he was?
So the very first pair was the bucket, right? And guys were between throwing it straight and hooking it. I'm pretty sure Smalls and Bill were like, we're hooking this. Like, whatever. In my head, I'm looking over at the panel of judges. I'm like, Norm's right there. I'm throwing this thing straight. And as I'm standing up there, I'm like, yeah. Or before I get up, Tommy's like, are you going to hook it? You going to throw it straight? I think you should hook it. He's just doing his Tommy thing. You guys know how he is.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm already committed to throwing it straight, so I'm like, yeah, piss off. Yeah, I'm throwing it straight. I hang up in it, loft it a little bit, but I nut it. And then he's just chirping again. And then later, before I shoot the washout, same thing. He's like, yo, D, you going to hook this? I'm like, I think I'm going to throw it straight, but now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I should hook it. You think I should hook it? He's like, yeah, man, I think you should hook it. I get up there, throw it straight, nut it. And that's why I went up there and gave him a hug after. But yeah, it was just a good time. Tommy's fun.
He is so fun. What's it like to bowl on a telecast where it's just all fun like that? The made for TV events like that. It's just a different mindset. Like, you can just have fun with it.
Definitely more enjoyable. Like, of course you want to win, but at the same time, it's like, it's cool. You got a team to back you up. There's not as much pressure. You just kind of go out there, do your thing, and hopefully you win.
Yeah. I love it. I hope the fans love it as much as I love it, because it's nice to see a little like refresh of like the typical everyday thing, from how serious it gets on tour.
It'd be really cool to see this thing grow and get a little bit bigger and get some more guys involved rather than just seeing the same 3 on every show. Yeah, the same guys on every show.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it, right? People want to see. That's why I like that they did the voting. They got a chance to get like some new faces in there, and we have the rising stars now as well. So,
one thing I think would be really cool is if they had, like, we could market ourselves per event, and then they vote on the players. Like, if Kev wanted to do the trick shots, you got 2 weeks. Post as much as you want. Pump yourself up. Get fans to get fans in your corner, and then people could vote on you. And whoever makes it to the the trick shot or the strike challenge or the spare challenge, let the fans decide.
Yeah. Let me get on Instagram and be like, hey, Sean Rash, that was awesome. You're the top 10 Sports Center. I've always wanted to be number 1 on top 10. I can do better. And I kind of call them out, and then you can hype it up, and then next year can come around and be like, all right, you wanted this, here we go. Like, I think that would be cool.
I actually saw a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but there was a lot of people on social media saying that it was hard to watch. Like,
really?
Like the PBA successfully made something worse than the dunk contest. And like, I saw quite a few negative comments. So I'm interested to see over the next couple of days if we're still seeing some negative comments. and see kind of where it goes from there. Because, yeah, I don't know. It was interesting because I honestly, I didn't watch it either. I was, just out doing errands and stuff because I haven't really been home. But, yeah, interesting to see. I don't know if it was like, I know some people were talking about the judges not being very good. So I don't know if that had played a part in it. And where it was just
I think the biggest portion was probably the trick shot. I don't know if it was executed the best way possible, because when Rash was up, I'm standing here going, man, what is this guy doing? He's treating it like the strike derby. Like he's doing these trick shots as fast as possible. And I'm like, I feel like you just have to convert them. You don't even have to get off as many as you can, because the first two guys kind of threw.
Yeah. Here's the thing is too that people got to understand is when you do events like this, it's trial and error because you've never done it before. So you don't really know how it is to film it. You don't really you just kind of you try to think out every scenario whenever they're making the telecast and the schedules and stuff. But once you actually film it, you find out things don't work the way you thought they were going to. So it is a trial and error. You don't just hit it on the head first try when you're doing a lot of moving parts like this, new formats, and so much going on in one time. So you got to understand that there's a lot more behind the scenes work to this stuff than you would think, because it's hard to film the trick shots, and how do you do that successfully but still get successful trick shots off?
Yeah, and the thing is these trick shots. Yeah, some of us have decent practice at it, but these are hard. These are very hard things to do. Imagine going up with 2 bowling balls in your hand and making the big 4.
I would say we don't even have decent practice at it. When do we actually practice trick shots? We do one or two.
I would say the guys that did it have somewhat decent practice at it. Yeah. But it's one of those things that is not an easy thing to do. I don't
even throwing a ball with the opposite hand.
Yeah, even if you
I don't know about that, it's pretty easy.
Even if
I mean, we're just different breeds, But for the average guy, even the average tour player, throwing a shot with their opposite hand isn't easy.
Yeah. Even find somebody that averages 230 in your league and set up the big 4 and hey, go grab 2 bowling balls, 1 in each hand, and go make it. They could take an hour and a half before they even get close. And
they have a better chance shooting it conventionally with 1 ball.
So it's very hard. It's a hard thing. It's a cool thing to watch, but at the same time, it can go wrong pretty easily to where it's just not fun, because it's not easy to do. They're just hard things to do. It's way harder than the dunk contest.
Yeah,
those guys can dunk the ball. Every single time, if they want to, they can dunk the ball. Mm-hmm. And it's
dunks still visibly look cool. So you could do a dunk that's not that hard for a guy who has a 40-inch vertical, like a windmill. But to us, we're still look sick.
Whoa, God,
still look sick. So Poker Stiff asked, how are the bowlers and participants chosen for these expedition events? So they did a fan voting for the All-Stars. The top 10 in points, as of a couple weeks ago, got to put into a fan vote, and they got to post on their social medias. And those 4 guys got chose from that based off of the fans voting. The Rising Stars got picked through the regional program. We have Regional Player of the Years, and then we have the Rookie of the Year as well. But I think Cortez won the West as well, right? So it's just all the regional winners. And then the Legends are just the Legends. But other events like this, it's usually just the PBA picking who the people want to see. I mean, when you're doing a made-for-TV event like this, you want to see the Belmos, the Simos, the EJs, the guys that are the superstars. So that's usually how it's picked. This year they did a little differently, which I genuinely love to see. So I think this is the best way to go about it. You still get your big-time names in there, but you also get some new faces and an opportunity to get some new faces, even if they didn't make it, like the Zach Wilkins and the Boog Crolls, those guys that had a chance to make it in off the vote, which Zach almost got in. I was surprised. He joked, and he was because he just moved to Kansas City, and he was I got a lot of friends in Kansas City now, kind of joking, but they were rallying for him. They were trying to get him up there. So it's cool to see that they actually had a chance to get on there, whether they did or not. At least you have the opportunity to try to make it on there. So that's how they get on there for those events.
Pretty cool.
With all the talk about all these teams and stuff, we haven't really dialed into who is going to win this thing. Chris, you have the teams written down, right? Because I don't have them written down. It doesn't have it on the.
So we have EJ, Pete, and Nate Purchase, Troop, Walter, and Cortez Schenk.
Yeah, baby.
Bill, Norm, and Anthony Nyer, and then Doherty, Parker, and Dio. Those are the four.
I got the insider info, so I feel like I gotta.
You do have the insider info. I like all the teams. It's hard to not pick Kyle Troop for any of these things because, like you said, Darren, earlier, he is these events. Like
he is made for TV.
He is made for TV. He's made for the fun events and the serious events, but like he is going to bring the exact energy that some people like might hesitant to bring, because it's like a little fun weekend or whatever. He'll come out and he'll start getting loud and stuff.
He cares more than the other guys for sure.
It's hard to not pick a Kyle Troop for these. It's just hard.
It's nice to be on his team for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like that's like the only team I look at and be like, yeah, like all those guys are still bowling really well.
Right. Like, yeah. How does that even happen?
Parker shows up and bowls occasionally, and like obviously he can show up and throw a few strikes.
Yeah.
I mean, Doherty's been bowling well, but then you got like Dio, very first TV show, so not really sure how he's going to do. And the left has not, obviously, with Packy finishing.
I won't say anything.
But Packy finished last in the strike. So it's like, well, the only team there's two teams that doesn't have a lefty. It's EJ, Pete, and Nate, and then Troop, Walter, and Tez. And Pete obviously has been bowling, but hasn't looked the greatest in the last couple of years.
Right.
I do have a piece of information that is valuable in you guys picking your winners, though. I think it's fair for me to, I don't know if you guys know what the bracket looks like, but I'm going to spoil it, the bracket at least, the matchups. The two teams you just mentioned are bowling against each other.
Really?
So it's going to be Walter's team versus Pete's team in the first round.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, Walter bowls every day of his life still, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty full.
He can bowl two-handed, one-handed,
Yeah. I just feel I feel like that's like if there were betting odds, I feel like that team's like a minus 200.
100%.
They're like a heavy favorite.
How did the PBA pick these?
No clue.
They just said we want these guys to bowl together.
Yeah, I don't know if they randomized them or if it was.
I feel like that would have been the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I don't see any correlation besides Bill and Norm being PBA league, teammates.
Yeah.
However long.
Yeah, like everyone's companies are different and stuff like that.
So it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if they just randomly randomized it or if it was based on like maybe they did Legends amount of titles and then they paired that up with the highest vote getter and the highest rookie or something like that, because that kind of seems like Walter has the most titles. Troop, if I had to guess, was number one fan voting. I don't know that. I don't know that.
I don't know if he was or not.
But
I don't think
with how it went, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Doherty.
I don't think it was Kyle, honestly, but I don't know. I don't know. Again,
I don't know. It seems like somebody that would get the first place amount of
We
votes.
just wing it, guys. What do you want from us? Like real information?
Well, I don't think that was ever public information, but
they had the voting of who was like.
Let me see if the PBA website or
not the final. I don't think they ever had the final, but they did have it up.
They just said this is who we got.
Like when I look at these teams, I don't even look at the All-Stars because they're all bowling active and they're 4 of the top 10,
You just assume they're going to strike every time.
I'm looking at what legends are still bowling. Like Norm doesn't bowl anymore. Yes, Norm Duke is Norm Duke, but he doesn't bowl anymore. I don't think he's touched the
bowling balls. He literally hasn't touched the bowling balls since the league.
Yeah, since the league.
That's what he said.
Yeah. So
he had to drill balls for this event.
Like that makes a difference. It's still Norm Duke. It's like riding a bike to him, I'm sure. But Parker still bowls. Walter still bowls. Pete still bowls. But then it's like Pete hasn't bowled as good as he used to. Walter probably still wins every senior thing he's ever bowled ever. And then you go to the rising stars. It's like, okay, like Dio, Nyer, Nate, Cortez. It's like, okay, which is the better out of those? Like those are going to be the X factors because the all-stars are going to just strike.
And those kids are grinders. Like they bowl.
Yeah.
They bowl.
Yeah, they do.
EJ was number 1, by the way, the second to last submission, I guess. It wasn't second, but there was a kind of a big margin. It was 21.2% to Kyle's 14.7.
Wow.
Yeah.
EJ dominated the vote.
Yeah, imagine that he got.
Who was the first out of the voting for the All-Stars?
Ooh, we don't know because that wasn't the final. So because Zach Wilkins was number 4 on that vote.
Oh, okay. So
they didn't.
So we'll probably say he probably snuck out of the top 4.
We could just say he was 5th.
Yeah, we're just gonna assume, guys, because that's what journalists do.
Yeah,
we're just gonna assume.
Yeah, but I feel like that team. It's just, I don't know. It's just hard to pick against that team,
bro. I feel like I don't know how they pick the teams, but that team is just like. Even whenever Kyle found out the teams that they were bowling on, I don't know if we were in a practice session or what, but I was next to him, and he was like, "Oh." That's not even fair. He's like, oh, this team is so good. Like, what? So, I mean, obviously they're all good, but
I feel like he would find a way to gas up whoever he's blowing with anyways. Yeah. He'll find a reason to tell you that, yeah, we're still going to win.
Yeah, you got to manifest that it's a dub, you know?
Yeah, I can't wait till we're talking all this and
they get swept.
They're going to lose by 60 this first match.
Yeah, they're going to get destroyed. You know, we have a tendency to do that.
I'm a little biased for that team, too, because every time I bowl Tez in a stepladder in the West, he's got to be averaging like 256 against me. I can't beat him. I'm like 0-4.
To be fair, he's averaging 256, and the field averages like 240 all the time in the West. So
nah, come on, man.
Until I pulled up before. Every time I would look at regionals,
numbers.
Every time I pull up regionals in the West, it would be like
they are pretty high scoring.
And then I show up, and it's not the case at all.
Yeah, either way,
I want a gold now shot.
I can't beat the kid, man. He just gives me the business.
He's good.
He is good.
He's very good.
All right, regional tour.
So is that just the unanimous pick? It's that team.
Yeah, I feel like it's just us two picking because Darren knows, but
I feel like Darren would pick that team too.
I would pick that team anyways for sure. Yeah. Just knowing, Kyle is who he is, made for TV. You got Walter. He's arguably the greatest of all time.
He's probably Walter made the most telecasts of all time. Because he's won the most titles. He's probably made the most
I feel like he has to. And he has a ton of second place finishes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cortez averaged 226 in the West. He was the highest average by about 5. Doherty bowled 1 tournament, so I'm not going to count him. He averaged 224.
Yeah, what a jerk. Just shows up and beats us.
Yeah.
I was first out of that stepladder too. If he wouldn't have showed up in the West, I would have made a stepladder. That's how that would work.
No joke. Dude, I might have won. I kind of topped it off. I lost in the step ladder by 1. I got 7 to lose by 1.
So, me and Tom have not hung out more, but we talk a lot more this year than we have ever in the past. And he came up to me at the last tour stop, and I'm just sitting down taping up my finger, and he's like, "I got to tell you, you passed my test." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You passed my test." And I'm like, okay, I didn't know there was a test going on. He was like, I've been kind of rude to you. I've been kind of a jerk to you, pretty hard for, however long. And he was like, I do that to people to see if they still stick around. He was like, I like you. I'm going to start being nice to you. And I was like, I appreciate that, Tom. And I was like, you don't have to be nice to me though. I prefer talking crap a little bit and stuff like that. He was like, you passed my test. So I just thought that was funny. Tom cracks me up. So
he's a funny dude.
He's also made for TV and stuff like this. He is a funny guy. He's very witty, and he's got.
It's very under the radar. It's like you don't expect it, and then it's like, oh, whoa.
I know it is. I feel like a lot of guys like that. Like Bill's like that. Tom, a lot of those guys just don't care to be in front of a camera that much to show that they're witty and whatever. But they all are like that. So I feel like Tom could get a little loud and get into Kyle Troop's head. EJ doesn't really get like that. Bill doesn't really get like that. Bill can, but not really on TV. But I think Tom could be the one that kind of pumps up his team and does the Kyle Troop effect as well. I feel like Tom could get like that.
Yeah, so I feel like he has a knack for being on teams that he is like the only one that shows emotion.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've been on his league team for quite some time.
You guys.
Yeah, like who's on your team? It's you. You got Frankie.
Well, we
Yes.
have
Dick can show a little bit.
We have Dick Allen this year, so this is like the first one. But in years past, it's been
Jesper.
me,
Yeah,
Jesper, and CD have been the three that have been kept. So it's been like a revolving door there. Yeah, so we've had DJ Archer in the past, so he shows a little bit of motion, but he bowled not so great the year that he was on our team, so he didn't really show too much emotion. And then we had Santu, and Richie Keys last year.
Doesn't talk a whole lot.
And I mean, Richie shows emotion, but he also didn't have.
But he's also pretty.
He didn't have his greatest showing either, so he wasn't showing too much emotion. So yeah, it's been kind of a flat line a team. But then we added Frankie this year, also not a whole lot of emotion, but we balanced that out with Dick Allen. So we got a little bit of emotion this year. But it's pretty funny that it seems like and now he's with Parker and Dio. So it's like massive.
You know what? I'm switching it up. I'm going Team Tom today. I'm going Team Tom because I passed his test and he's gonna pass mine. Yeah, I kind of wasn't really looking at the All-Stars. I was looking more at the Legends and the Rising Stars. I'm going Team Tom today. Team Rebel. He says he's Rebel, right?
Yeah,
the Rebel.
I'm a Rebel fan today. He's coming.
I would like to see him win. I mean, Parker's like one of the greatest guys in the world, and Dio is super, super nice as well. He's like super quiet, doesn't really talk to a whole lot of people. But yeah, this year, for some reason, every time I see him, he's like, "Hey, Chris, how are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good, Dio. How are you?"
You can tell he genuinely loves being out here. Like,
he's a good kid.
He just loves bowling.
He's super funny too, dude.
Yeah,
I gave him one of those "I Hate League" shirts at one of the regionals, and he was like, "Oh my god, it's been a dream of mine to have this shirt." I'm like, dude,
buy one,
bro. You could have just bought one. Like, it's not. Don't make that a dream.
It's different when he gets gifted.
But yeah, his reaction was priceless.
Also, the X factor with Dio is you said like the left isn't that great. Big backup ball kid. He won a regional backup ball, and he's bowled a couple tour stops trying to backup ball, and like he actually like does it. I always say the backup ball is a fluke. Like when Simo does it, it's cool, a little gimmick, but like it's not usually efficient. Yeah, it's not usually effective.
Yeah, I bowled right beside him in Anderson, and one of the blocks, I can't remember which block it was. May have been the last one.
I'm
either the second or the last one, but I think he had 700 after the first three, and he was minus like for the first 12 games when scores were pretty high, and then he shot 700 his first three, like hooking it right-handed basically.
So me and Darren, when we crossed together in Chicago, Dio bowled to the right of us, and I saw that he was throwing backup ball with like in the last block or whatever, and I wanted to go up to him and say, like, "Hey, man, I think you really should just try to bowl normal and learn something versus the backup ball. I feel like that's kind of a cop out. Like, you need to learn how to strike on the left, even if you're not gonna like keep up with the righties. Like, you need to learn how to like see the right shapes a little more." And I was gonna go up to him, and then I look up, and he bowled 230, and I was like, I'm not gonna say anything to him.
Bowled 230 every game.
It's like I always say that it's a fluke to backup ball because your ball roll is not effective. Like it's terrible. It's not efficient at all. Like you can bowl 190 or something, and I look, and he's just snapping out the 10, and he's shooting 230. I was like, maybe I'm doing it wrong, and I was like, all right, let's try it. So maybe that comes into play. Imagine that first telecast, and he goes backup ball. That would be an alpha move right there.
That would be wild.
Turns into a permanent backup baller.
I'm going Team Tom Park Dio. That's my pick. I'm sticking to it. It's not the underdog. It's all a fluke on paper. Like the odds. I'm picking them to win. I'm making all the money.
Yeah,
but we don't bet on bowling, so I wouldn't make it.
They might be the betting underdog.
It's
got to be close.
I mean, the one that sticks out to me, I don't know Nate Purchase like that, like at all, because he's not on tour where the other three are on tour. So I've seen them bowl and I kind of know what they're capable of. I don't know a thing about Nate Purchase at all.
I just know when he gets in front of the ball return, he goes backwards.
He goes
to go
backwards,
forward.
and that's just not necessary.
No, it is
It's
not
necessary.
But I think
necessary,
he's with EJ and Pete, right? So I mean,
yeah,
like any team with EJ can't be an underdog. And then you got Bill, Norm, like and Nair. I feel like that team can't be an underdog. I mean Bill's literally leading the points right now, so it's. I mean, Norm, yeah,
I think it's closer than we think.
In 2 years, but
it's Norm. Watch him just not miss. He's just not going to miss.
It's one of those. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Maybe the EJ Pete Nate team might be the second underdog
over the Tom. I mean, I think you want to put a bet on this, Chris? What's up? My team versus your team. My team, your team. I think
you're not even bowling against each other. I think
you're sleeping on the boys. I think you're sleeping on the boys a little bit. Tom, Dio, and Park, they're coming out and they're going to win.
I 100% think they could win.
Well, the bracket works out that they could bowl against.
They could bowl against each other. I'm solely basing my selection because Packy finished last, and they have 2 lefties.
He did. Packy
one
did
and a half lefties.
He's just trying to get his one, and he happened to get one.
Yeah. So
he only struck once. I didn't see.
Yeah.
I mean, he got his one. I think it was off the. It was either the first or the second shot. I was like, well, he got his one, and then they finished, and I went, oh my god, he actually only got one.
Was he just like not carrying, or did he not hit the pocket?
I think he was carrying, but either I don't remember. He struck one of his first 2 shots. The other one, he hit the 2-pin in the face. So I can't imagine that put him in a very comfortable position moving forward.
Yeah.
That's all right. It'd be like that. Dio's going back up ball. I'm calling it. He's going to see the left side.
Just wait till tomorrow. Oh, my God. I forgot.
What's tomorrow?
The NASCAR.
Yeah.
Oh, the NASCAR.
Yeah.
That's
definitely the worst showing I've ever had on TV.
Oh, well, that's a spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah. It's okay. You're gonna have to. I won't spoil it tomorrow, but only today. So if you guys are watching right now, you got some insider info.
Yeah. All the people that are watching right now know that you were gonna be awful.
They don't know if we won or not though.
It could be
that Nate Purchase throws a stick backup ball. See the lefty backup ball is I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not. If I ever see a right-hander start bowling backup ball against me to try to beat me, good luck. Good luck. You won't keep up with a left-hander if you're a righty trying to throw backup ball, but
unless you're Simo.
Unless you're Simo.
Literally beat a lefty to win a title.
He did beat a lefty, but he didn't bowl a big game. Didn't he bowl like 2-0? 2-0 to 190
2-0 or 2-0, something like that. But it was, a urethane ball as well.
Even more reason he should have shot 270. They must have been impossible.
I think it was like a clean 2-0 or 2-team game.
All right, so we have Baker style, right? It's Baker games in the bracket.
Yeah, 3-man Baker games.
I believe they had choice in their lineup, but I'm pretty sure the current stars took 4 frames on every team.
Stars with the 10th.
Yep.
The All-Stars.
The All-Stars.
The All-Stars get to be in the 10th? Oh, is it the 10th where it's like 10th, 11th, 12th is a different person?
No. So it's the one person will bowl 4 frames. They'll bowl the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. Is that right?
No, they go. It will be the 3rd, 6th. I don't know what it is actually.
No, they do bowl the 1st. It's 1, 4, 7, and 10.
1, 4, 7, and 10. Yeah.
Okay. So what's going to be the lowest score bowled on TV? Because it could be low. You said they were like getting pretty hard, and we've got we've just got a lot of different faces and like.
That's a good question. I wasn't really paying attention to the score, so maybe I could chime in here.
Yeah, you can if you didn't pay attention to the score, but you choose last because me and Chris have.
Yeah.
Because I could see I could see 170 being bowled honestly.
Oh, easily.
Like 170 easily being bowled.
I was thinking even lower than that.
100 lower than 170?
Dude, like it's easy to bowl some like subpar Baker games because like you're sitting around, you're waiting, and then now you're throwing in TV commercial breaks. Like a lot of these guys aren't bowling regularly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
To where they're not going to be super sharp anyway.
People forget about these commercial breaks. Like they do affect us.
And the lanes are a little messy. Like I could legit see 157 bowl.
I have no input on how the lanes played because I didn't throw a single ball on this telecast, so I have no idea if they played any similarly to like I saw a similar thing from practice to when they re-oiled. Both times they felt like you couldn't miss to the right. They hooked back no matter what in our warm-ups, and then they ran them again. And if you threw it to the same spot to the right, it might not have hit the head pin.
Yeah, Kev, you had your headphones off, but I call it 157 game being bowled.
157?
Yeah.
I can see a low game being bowled, but not that low.
My PBA league team has bowled less than 157 this year. I think more than once.
Well, when you put it that way.
But that's what I'm saying. Like it's easy to do it's easy to do in Baker when you're kind of sitting around, you're waiting, and it's
agree.
If you don't have a great look and then you go up and then you split, it's like
everyone's throwing 3 shots.
Yeah, and now everyone's throwing 3 shots. So it's
you got one guy that doesn't have it.
Well, that and you got these. I mean, Parker doesn't bowl a ton, but he's bowling somewhat regularly. Walter's probably the only one that bowls like actual regularly. Pete has bowled a couple of events, so it's one of those like. I just don't know how much or how sharp those guys are going to be. And, sitting around waiting, father time plays a factor in that as well.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are.
The only logical thing that makes sense to me to where the seniors will bowl okay is that they all play relatively straight. This pattern isn't the hardest thing in the world. It's a longer pattern too. So they can kind of just do what they do on the senior tour.
He throws it too slow.
That is true.
He throws it too slow now.
Maybe Pete will be the guy that either strikes every time or never.
Maybe the left gets nicer because there's 3 lefties, right? There's 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 3 lefties because Mike Goldberg's not.
Dio and
maybe the left gets a little nicer because Nair can play pretty straight. Parker plays really straight, and then Dio might be throwing your thing? Question mark.
Nair can hook that thing too.
Yeah,
I know he can hook it, but
he throws it hard. He can hook it.
That's the other thing. It's like you got the older guys who don't really bowl regularly that much anymore that probably aren't going to be super sharp, and they got to wait around. Plus, you got the young guys who have made 1 or 0 telecast, making their TV debut or whatever you want to call it. So it's like those guys, they're going to be nervous to bowl, and then you got the older guys who are just they got to sit around and wait and to try to perform. And then you're expecting the all-stars to strike pretty much every time. But wrap 10, stone 9, like 4-pin, like to where it's like still a close shot, but you only get 9. Like I think you could see a pretty low game. I mean, you could also not see a game below 200, but I feel like there could be a messy game easily bowled.
150 though is crazy. I was thinking like 178 could be bowled. 176 actually is what feels better to me. 176. Do you think there's a chance where a team could pop off a big score?
How big we talking?
Well, let's get into it. I don't know. How big are we talking?
Big score.
Like 250 plus, right?
250. I definitely think it's a possibility.
I could see 230, 240 being bowled, but I don't know if I can see much over 250.
Like you got to figure the other, aside from the All-Star, the other 2 just have to set it up. If they miss once a piece, or if one guy just misses twice and the other guy doesn't miss, sets it up for a 250.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when you're kind of vibing, you got a couple guys that's like their first telecast or whatever, and then you kind of just riding the wave, and then you just dial in. It happens quick, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it very well could. I mean, it's just you got like I said, you're expecting the all-star to strike out and strike pretty much every shot. So you're expecting them to go 6 for 6 And then
so the other guys double with 1 miss apiece.
Yeah, and you're expecting the other guys to go 2 for 3 each. It's
I think a team could bowl over 250.
It's a big.
If they're closer to the practice,
there's only 6 games bowled.
100%. If they play like the rerun, they'd have to bowl a pretty good game.
It's just one single game Baker.
Yeah.
So it's just 6 total games bowled. So you don't think there'll be a 250 bowled out of the 6 Baker games? And you think 150? Dang, you think score's going to be low, Chris?
I think.
And then Darren knows.
I think Chris is prepared for the scores tomorrow when the NASCAR drivers are playing.
Well, yeah.
Well, there's no telling. Yeah, there's no telling what that's going to be. They might not keep it on the lane.
There could be a 260. There could be 110.
I'm just saying.
I get you.
Almirola's high game's 299.
I mean, I agree.
That was his first 200 game ever.
You said what?
Eric Almirola, 299, first 200 game.
How does that even work?
Year, right?
Yeah, it was some event. Him and Troop were working, and he goes up to Kai, goes, "Hey man," they finished taping or whatever, and then he's like, "Can I throw your ball?"
I saw that video.
Yeah, and watching him bowl, I've never really watched him bowl, but knowing that he's bowled 299 and seeing how he bowls, I'm like, that's like the most stars aligned thing I've ever seen.
I mean, sometimes you just got it, and you might have it.
He had it for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never bowled a 200 game.
That's
299.
Think about like all the people that they bowl way more 299s before they get their first 300. Like I had a buddy, I'm pretty sure it's Chris Taylor. He bowled like 11 299s before he got his first 300. I'm pretty sure it's him.
That's tough.
And
every time it doesn't fall,
my first 200 was 299.
I think I had 6 or 7 299s before I had my first 300.
Bro, I didn't bowl 299 until like my 9th 300. I finally like missed in the 12th. I was like, I'm never gonna shoot 299.
Yeah,
and you know how I did it? My first 299, I left the head pin. I hit the 2 pin in the face and I almost dominoed it, but the head pin didn't go. It just wiggled. So that was my first 299 was the head pin.
I think I had the whole back row and a couple of 4 pins, I think, before I ever shot.
That's good bowler stuff right there. That's good bowler stuff. I was really trying hard not to shoot 300. Really?
Yeah, you were trying not to. I was trying to actually shoot 300.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the winning score then? If you think they're going to be low, I'm going to go against you on everything here today, Chris. I'm going to spice it up a little bit. I think Tom Doherty and crew are coming in and they're looking to catch a dub. And they're going to be the underdogs. Yeah. And and they're bowling 300. They're not missing. So what is the winning score today? What's it going to be?
Do they still get the bonus if they bowl 300?
They split it 3 ways.
What? There's a bonus?
The $10,000 bonus for bowling a 300 on team.
Oh, you just get 300. You get 333 out of it?
$3,333. Just like what you get for winning the event with the team.
I would say the winning Baker. Are we talking the final match? What wins?
Final match. It's got to be the final match. Unless you want to just go through all the matches.
I don't remember the score, so
I would say final match. Give me 224.
Over what's the losing score?
191.
That's a good guess. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm thinking like a 218. Someone's gonna have a bad frame. Some people's gonna get tapped. 218 to 2-0, but it's gonna be a close one. Tom Doherty's going to need to strike out, and then he's going to strike out, and he's going to look at Kyle, and he's like, I'm a red ball. I'm predicting it now. It's like when people are trying to predict how Usher comes out to his halftime performance. That's how I'm predicting the win's going to go today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So when that happens, I'm the greatest analyst of all time of ever. So,
or
I have no input.
Yeah, you were there. You kind of know what the scores might be. And
yeah, I remember some scores, but I don't remember a whole lot. I know who wins. I remember there being some kind of score, and then other than that, I wasn't really paying attention. I was having a great time with the NASCAR fans.
That's all that matters. I mean, that's all that matters. All right. Well, you got anything else, guys? I mean, we've touched up on it a lot.
See that I saw we got a dono.
We did get a dono. For the people that haven't really came in to see, we try to keep the donos to what we're talking about today. The dono is talking about bowling balls and things like that. So unfortunately, we're going to keep it to the telecast, guys. Thank you for the dono. But in advance, if it's not about the telecast, we're just going to leave it with the telecast because that's what we're here to talk about today. Legends, Rising Stars, All-Stars. This is
we do have that Baker Challenge as well.
Wait, Baker Challenge?
Yeah, there's a future Hall of Famer. That strike challenge. They throw 2 shots apiece.
I didn't know that.
The Hall of Famers versus the future Hall of Famers.
Oh,
where Tommy
that's
is
where Mike. That's where Mike
bowls. Yeah,
we're taking the future Hall of Famers just because they're all sharp and like still bowling. I mean,
I will say, make sure you guys watch the telecast because that was an exciting one.
Oh, really?
And it was entertaining. Yeah.
A little closer than some may think.
It was certainly closer.
I don't know anything about anything.
It's enticing, and it sounds like Norm steps up and throws 3 in the 10th to make Tommy throw 3 in the 10th, and he does.
It was just a single shot. There were no spares, no frames. It was like a roll off, but they threw 10 shots.
So Norm
so it's like
strikes.
It was strike or nothing. Strike or nothing.
It's to force striking. Oh, okay. So it's like you get 5 strikes out of 10, you get 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Norm strikes, forces Tommy to strike. He gets it. That's my prediction.
I will tell you, Norm was not at the bottom of the lineup.
Well, I'm still predicting it.
It's my one spoiler. Norm was not the anchor for his team.
Big lineup change coming up. You don't even know about it.
Yeah, it's going to be taped differently.
I do.
The show is going to be on FS1 in 17 minutes.
Yeah,
it will be live in 17 minutes.
Right now. Okay, well, I'm excited for this one. I didn't watch yesterday's. I'm going to watch today's. I'm going to do that. I'm going to watch.
I thought the challenge between the Hall of Famers was more entertaining.
Really?
That one's going to be at the end of the show.
You hooked me. I'll watch it.
That was when I actually sat there. I was like, oh, my God, who's going to win?
Yeah.
And that's just something like you never get to see anyway, to where that's like,
it was cool.
Everyone's always like, well, I mean, obviously you can't make both people in their primes, but it's like, oh, in their prime. Like I know Belmo had that question on his Facebook.
Yeah.
Who would have been better?
Like a week ago or something like that. It was like, hey, take which team would you pick? Everyone in their primes. And he kind of separated them from like eras, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And this is probably the closest thing that we could ever get to it, to where you have, some of the greatest bowlers of all time and versus the greatest bowlers of this generation per se. So it's pretty cool to see. It's a unique concept and one of those things that it's definitely a enjoyment to watch.
Yeah.
Such an impossible argument though, because like this era versus the past era's games
you'll never win,
built on completely different ways of
not even the same game, dude.
It's
like the LeBron MJ thing. It's the same thing. You'll never know because it's just 2 different eras, 2 different games. Like, yeah, you'll never know. Know.
Back then, the guy that could play the straightest was the guy that won every week, and now the guy that hooks it the most is the guy that.
And now it's max reaction. Now the guys that can find 4 boards to hit win. Where back then it was like who can hit 1 board more consistently. Like you didn't have ball motion back then. So yeah, you'll never know that debate ever. They bowled more as well. Like just not the same game.
Straighter is greater is a thing of the past.
Oh yeah.
Except for the spare shots. I still believe it's the case.
Yeah, I've been hooking at my right sides my whole life, cuz I shoot right sides, but now I just don't shoot the left side.
They're a different breed.
You start throwing them backup balls like Dio.
I just can't pull myself to do that at all. I just can't do that. We call that the Millie Rock where I'm from. All right, guys. Well, tune in 14 minutes to day 2 of the PBA All-Star Weekend. This is the Legacy Cup. Legends, Rising Stars, All-Stars. A lot of faces, some guys you haven't seen on TV in a long time. I would love to know, like, when was Mike Alby's last telecast? You know, that's going to be a long time ago. So tune in, guys.
Bring that up during the telecast.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Tune in.
Show for everybody.
I know. FS1. Hey, guys, remember, this is just a fun weekend. So enjoy something you don't see very often. You know, you got some new faces. I hope the youngsters have fun with this. I say the youngsters. It feels weird to say that, but youngsters. I hope they have fun with this. I'm going to watch. I didn't watch yesterday. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't watch. I was busy. I'm not busy today. I'll watch it today. So
all you need to know is we the champs.
Yeah, you guys are. Darren and Team Storm caught the dub day 1 in the skills showdown.
Sorry for doubting your abilities.
Someone said in the I know, right? Yeah, we're just right in front of his face. We were like, "You're not gonna win."
Yeah, you've been bowling like shit, man.
Hey, you understood how you understood.
No, I get it, man.
Okay? You understood it. It's not nothing personal. You know, if I ever made one of these, you guys don't have to pick me. You better freaking pick me.
I would be like, dude, you weren't even practicing the right spare, but also the other 2 guys weren't practicing the right spare either.
So. They were about as crapshoot of a spare as possible. Also, I got to tell you guys, we got 4 practice shots total, 2 on each lane, and deciding to hook, like, there was no way we weren't hooking the 5-7. That was the biggest crapshoot. Like, don't know where to stand, don't know where to throw it.
Yeah.
And we all missed.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's all I got, guys. Is that all you guys got?
That is.
All right.
Except for the insider info that I'm going to tell you after this live ends.
Spoiler, right? Whenever we leave.
Spoiler alert!
I can't wait to hear about it. Oh my god! All right, guys, tune in to FS1 in 11 minutes. Go watch day 2 of the PBA All-Star Weekend. We'll see you guys tomorrow on another pre-show show for day 3. Why doesn't ours do it? I'm so mad. All right, guys. That's all we got. Appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Tune in.
See you.